discovering you, rewiring the brain, rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zeimet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zeimet Show, where being the best you just got easier. My guest today calling in from Denver, Colorado, and she's in outer space today, a great place to be. Maryam Martinez, welcome back to the show. You're always such a delight to have here.
Oh, thank you so much, Beverly. I'm so honored to be here and I'm so ready to go. Let's get this going.
Okay, where are we going? We're going to go to space today?
I'm not sure, but I'm here.
I
love it.
Let's talk a little bit about beginning business, because you're right at the threshold of a whole new era in life and in business, right?
Yes, I am. And it's been an interesting chain of events.
Right.
I've been in business for many times, owned a few business. Technology is just amazing right now, especially, with all the gadgets and the things that you can do online. So I'm really excited. I'm trying to learn about, how to bring all that together, including, like address books or even my calendar.
Gosh, yeah.
Isn't that amazing? It's like, okay, do I use my paperback calendar? Do I use the online calendar, Google Calendar, Facebook Calendar? Which is more efficient? And I've been dabbling a little bit in all of them. I've always used a book calendar, of course, but you want things more automated. And I'm just learning how to do all kinds of stuff now.
Yeah, that's a magic
you're a pro
word.
at all this.
Well, I'm working on it myself. I think we all are, because it keeps changing. But you hit a key word, and that was automated, right? Automated. So it's merging. It's merging like old school with new school, so to speak, right? And not only is your calendar important, but it's the time. Right? We have so much going on in the world today, even though we're kind of isolated in our own little squares, wherever that square may be, right? There's still an element of respecting your time and being organized, having everything work in alignment, and it's all about alignment within the self and the alignment in the self. So if you're in chaos within you, your world out here is going to be in chaos. When you align with yourself in here, the alignment out in the other world, starts to take on a format, right? And so if you've got stuff over here, you got stuff over here, you got stuff over there, you say, oh, whenever, it's not about whenever. Because again, you need to respect your time, your scheduling, and that's knowing your goal. That's knowing what it is that you want to do. And stepping into business, because you've been out of the, shall we say, out of the mainstream business arena for several years, taking care, of your husband, who was going through some major challenges. And now, it's your time to start over and begin in a whole different perspective. And everything changes so fast. I mean, what's going on this month is not going to be next month. Everything that happened in 2020, you want to talk about major changes? Wow. I mean, the Zoom and all of the programs that are related, Zoom style related, right? As far as webinars and virtual things, and we talk about that automation, and I tell you, I went fighting to say, I got to put this stuff on the calendar. Are you kidding me? I don't even know how to use this stupid thing and I don't want to learn. And it's like, okay, deep breath. Change is happening, Beverly. with or without you. And I say that all the time, right? It's like, are you going with the calendar or not? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I gotta take my own medicine sometimes that don't taste very good, right?
Right. Right.
So
And like you said, I was out for a few years from business. And prior to that, I've always been on the cutting edge of everything, technology, computers, what have you. But I put that to the side for a little over 2 years to be a caregiver for my husband. And I have come back and everything,
the whole
social
new world,
media,
isn't it?
the whole new world has changed.
Yeah,
Everything that I had previously set up and put on hold needs to be, yeah, it's gone.
yeah,
It's gone. So, it's a perfect timing. It's a perfect time to come back in. I know a little bit from before because I was right there. I've been amazed on the technology jump in this short period of time of a couple of years, but I think it's all for the better, all of it.
right.
I remember, doing apps and insurances and what have you, and my business was blooming and creating, you know, um, appointments and stuff, and everything is right here. I just have to learn it in a different way now
Right.
because it's changed so much. Facebook, LinkedIn, all those social media platforms have changed in 2 years that I used to be on all the time, building them up and creating for my business. Now taking that step back and coming back, I'm going, oh my gosh, what happened to this? Where's
Where'd
this?
everybody
Where's that?
go, right? Well, you really touched on something there because it's so true. With the technology changing so much and business changing, and especially last year, that was like a total inside out in every aspect, on how we connect and communicate and interact. It was, yeah, it was a shock to the system, even for us that, have been, there all the time year
On
after
that cutting
year.
edge.
And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, you really had to, suck it up, so to speak, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm glad all my friends are ahead of me because now I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, help me out here. Before it was, everybody was learning
right.
and we were all trying to stay on this cutting edge of business, especially with social media. And now I look at it and I'm like, I took a little bit back for, um, well, 2000, 2000, I barely got my husband back out of the hospital after 16 months. So we're still, COVID just came in and closed everything down. I didn't notice. I was too
Right.
busy to notice. I had already been in quarantine with my husband in the hospital, coming home and, taking care of him and him, being here. I didn't need the computer. All I needed was a phone in case he needed something,
Right.
So you look back and I'm like, wow, this technology has moved so quickly. And if you are not doing it, find somebody that can. That's all I can say.
Right.
Because
Right.
it's a lot of work to relearn. And yeah, my grandkids probably could do it better than I could. That's for sure.
4-year-old. Let's
Or
let's
wasn't.
let's face it. These 4-year-olds can do it because this is where they live, right? Which is
Yes.
kind of scary in a way, but it's technology. It's their era. So when you look back how we grew up, what was our era? And
Yeah.
then you go through all these different segments as you grow. And to
Yes.
watch the changes, and the changes now are just fast, 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 fast. It used to be like you'd merge and it'd take maybe, almost like a decade to go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
No, it's like from one day to the next. And then with COVID, as you said, in 2020, when everything started shifting before the COVID come in and all of that, you were in a whole different world, and
Yes.
then bringing him home, getting things set up, because he was a
Hmm.
paraplegic, right? You know,
Yes.
so
Quadriplegic. Yeah.
quadriplegic, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so having to redesign, your home environment,
Oh, yes,
and needing 24/7 care. The
it
last
is.
thing, that was even on your mind had anything to do with technology. And like you say, now coming, back out into the world, it's like, excuse me? Where did the world go in just a
I'm like,
year, right? But even under that circumstance, I can look at it myself and say, where did the world we know go? Not only in our physical ability to interact, but even in the technology world. So there's so much out there. It's so inundated because we've had to learn how to do in a different arena because of lockdown and everything else. Where's everybody at? Oh, are they over here? Are they over there? Are they over here? Oh, okay, they're on a show, they're on a podcast, they're on a Zoom, they're on a virtual webinar, they're in a virtual summit. They're, oh my gosh, it's like, right?
yeah, it was so overwhelming to start connecting to businesses without going out to visit people.
Right?
Networking was my biggest love that I have, is meeting new people and getting to know what they do in their business, and mentoring new entrepreneurs and coaching them, and everything I did previously before my husband became ill. So coming back to it was like, I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
Everybody has a webinar. I used to be on a webinar every single morning to my team or what have you, and it was real simple and easy. But then this is all different. Everything's videotaped. One thing is being on a phone, and now they see your face. But I like it. I really like the technology change. You know, what's really important in life is our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've learned that time is so precious, especially with your loved ones. I was blessed to be able to be there for my husband and be his caregiver for, a little over 2 years. And you learn so much when you just stop and you just start looking at your family and what that means. And it really gave me a different perspective. Um,
Well, your
and I
values,
really am
your
glad.
values kind of come to the forefront, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you find out a lot about who you are when you're taking care of somebody. Now, my husband could not move from the neck down. So that's not an easy task when someone is completely unable to move. It's not easy. And then on those days that he wasn't coherent, it's not easy to read somebody's mind if they're in pain, because
Right.
they're screaming, that they're in pain or what have you. And I don't want to put a damper on anything, but it's very difficult because then you find your strength in there and you move everything to the side. And at that moment, you really need to bring yourself together, just like the technology here. I need to bring myself together,
Right.
focus on that, create the plan around it, and then start action. And that's it. That's exactly how I was able to take care of my husband. Is you have to see everything around it, and then once you lay it out and you see your weak points,
Yeah, you definitely
you
got to
either
change
learn
it
it.
real fast. Well, you
And
what you're saying here, Miriam, is so precious because it's about life, and
yes,
it's learning and that action. That's critical, is taking that action. When you're taking care of someone in that capacity, you don't have time to dwell on, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. No, it's like now, now, now.
it's now.
So it's learning
It's
how to
now.
respond immediately. You know, is everything going to be perfect? Oh my gosh. I don't know what world that would be because it sure as heck isn't
If
this
you
one.
find that world, please share that world with me.
So it's learning. It's that doing. Don't think it's like, okay, all right, I'm going to do this. I know it's not going to hurt him. Is it going to help? I know it's not going to hurt me. Will it help? I don't know. If I don't try it, how am I going to know? Right? And so you just do it. And everything you learn along the way is that perfection. It's putting that puzzle together. So the training that you went through on your personal growth through this process is something that you're going to be able to take now into your business and incorporate it daily because, right? Don't let procrastination show back up, right? Because it had to be gone, right?
No.
Right.
And it's really about that, to be honest with you. The training is so important. Mentors, people to support you, a team. I had to have a team for my husband to take care of him. Even though I was here 24/7, nobody's physically able to do what he needed in 24 hours. It took a rotation of a team to do that. Yes, was I the team most of the time? Absolutely. But it's like business. You're the CEO of your business.
Right.
So therefore, you have to take care of it. And I think that's where my light turns on, because I've always been a businesswoman. All my career has been business, business, business. So when, all this came together and I had to make a choice, business, family, hands down, I'm going to take my family. And I was in a position where I was able to, financially stable enough. And that is a blessing in itself. When you start going a different direction, sometimes we plan that.
Yeah, sometimes things are planned for you, right? They're just like,
right.
Oh, what happened, right?
But I managed with your help to get 2 books out.
Oh, that's right. You had amazing. 2 books last year. Yeah.
Yes, I did. 2 books. Agent Orange, Broken DNA, The Enemy Within. It's on Amazon. It is a #1 bestseller on Amazon in 4 categories as well. So go check that out, everyone. The other one is Women. We both were in that one.
Yeah, we were in that one together.
That was an amazing project. And I've got to say, the strength I found to do both these books at the most crucial time of my life, my husband was already on hospice. And these were like my extra relief.
It was kind of a way to take yourself out of the whole situation and focus on something else so that it could give you a time to revamp. Right?
Yes.
So, and we all need that regardless of what's going on in life, and there's different ways to do that, and I'm fortunate where I'm at, but I still need that revamp time. And how I revamp is I take a walk out in nature, or I might go into a meditation. So however that revamp looks, and so to be able to have that, time to where you could go out, work on these books, right? And we talked about the second book. So here you are, you wrote the story of your husband, right? This was his story that you just kind of did his biography, which is actually a beautiful, beautiful story, for people to read again. And then the book that we shared together in a collaboration, it was Boss Up. Okay, Boss Up, women who boss up in health and wellness.
Yes.
Right? Which then again helped you in that support to be able to, because Maryam, you bossed up like no tomorrow when you were, just it happened like overnight. One day your life was just cruising right along, a fall took place, and your whole world went from one extreme to another.
In a blink of an eye, life changed. Almost 3 years ago. It's gonna 3 years. That's a long time.
Yeah.
To have an incident happen in your life and everything is just wiped away. And I'm grateful for the experience and what I've learned from it and how I've grown as a person.
Right.
Not just by the training like the hospital gave me to care for him, or the training I had. I had lots of training to take care of him. I'm not a nurse by trade
Hmm.
at all. But I do, I raised some kids. And if you really put yourself into, if you put yourself in the mother mode, mothers have this intuition of, if you just relax in that moment, everything will fall into place.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer that when things happen, you need to get up, keep on moving, and everything will work out. I'm a firm believer in that. I say it all the time. I have tremendous faith that it will come through, but I can say that these last 3 years have been the hardest things I've ever experienced in my life. And no one can really imagine the pain, the challenges, and everything that goes around being somebody, another human being, a full grown human being's caregiver. It's not what you ever think of, dream of, never wanted to do, whatever the case may be. But I've got to say, I'm really grateful I had that time with my husband after, we've been together 43 years. So it was a blessing to me. Even though some days I kind of thought, oh my gosh, how am I doing this? What do I do? And the moment, just like when I was a mom, when my kids were like, oh, and I didn't know what to do, I just stayed silent. And I said, what do I do next? Then if you just relax and keep moving, it happens.
Yeah, it's just
It
kind
all
of like,
comes into
it's
play.
kind of weird how it does that, right? All of a sudden,
Yeah,
you're making moves and you're doing things, and then when it's over, you're like, oh, where'd that come from? Right?
right. And, it, I'm sure it goes back to our programming or what have you, or trainings, or, I've worked for some amazing corporations and uh, done a lot of business stuff, and none of that really came into play to care for my husband as a caregiver. But I can say this, the organization that I started adapting to before he passed was from business.
Okay.
And I can look at things now and say, our personal and our business lives, they are the same. We just have to merge them in different ways.
Right.
And like you said, if you're organized here, everything can be, or it will all come
Right.
easily.
Well, you look at being in that corporate position, there was strategies that you did.
Oh,
There was, you had to have everything in alignment, everything, put in place. So when you look at what you were doing as a caretaker, right, you had to have, different meds, different equipment, everything had to be right at the fingertips. So there's that
yes.
organization. Ding, 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 ding. You knew what your
Hmm.
day had to be, because he was on a schedule that was life threatening if it wasn't followed. That's
Absolutely.
that's corporate discipline,
Yes.
right? And that organizational skills. So it's interesting when you really start to think about those two worlds, your business world, whether you're working for someone else or yourself, and your
Right.
personal life. They really do merge together.
Yes.
It's interesting. There's times when I go back into in the 1980s when I had my sandpaper business, right, and how it just exploded so fast. You know, that's been a lot of decades ago, but there's
Right.
still things almost on a daily aspect that show up of what transpired and what I took from those 9 years, here in Denver, and then another 7 in Vegas. So it was like really, I think it was like 18 years complete being in that automotive industry that actually has a foundation of how I perform in the business that I'm doing today. in holistic medicine. I mean, I was doing that kind of as a side hustle back then, but how
Yeah.
it really merged over. I even down to buying products. When I went into the essential oil business, right, and I needed bottles and stuff, guess where I went? The same place I went where I was buying big gallon jugs and 5 gallon jugs and stuff because we were relabeling and putting, product out of a 55-gallon drum. I went to the same place and they had the size bottles I needed, which I went from 5 gallon, you know, containers down to as low as one dram little bottles, So it's interesting how all that works and the disciplines and everything else. And it kind of is intriguing in a way. So the distance of everything that you've done in your life is really a conglomeration of who you are in the moment today.
Yes.
And when we look at that from that perspective, again, what do we bring with us?
Yes.
So take the healthy things that progress you forward and those things that do not, the little self-sabotaging stuff, the poor little me's, the negative emotions, and we all have those old stories, those old traumas. And you talked about pain. The physical pain is easy to overcome. It's the mental and the emotional pain that also have a spiritual impact, And so when you can start healing from that emotional and that mental perspective, the spiritual shifts. And that's that aha when you were saying you got silent and the message just kind of just flowed through you. You heard them, but you heard them silently and you just take action. And we all have that. And that's why it's important to just slow down, blank everything, and then just start taking action. Just do. Don't try to plan your do, right? And so working through that and being able to, like you said, in 2020 was such a challenge and such an upside down world for everybody on the planet. It wasn't just one city or another, it was the whole world. And for me, I kind of recognize that as the awakening, right? And so when you look at that, here being a 24/7 caretaker, I know you came over to the office, a few times, and you want to talk about it.
Like my angel.
It's so.
I gotta say, I was so blessed to have you at those moments, and I know I was a wreck, but that gave me space to find
to
that
run
focus.
away. It was an escape to just unload. And we all need that, Maryam. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. And this is what's
absolutely.
important, to be able to unite. And if nothing else, I think 2020 really put that into perspective on how important it is to have another person in your life and supporting. It's not about doing something or telling somebody how to do it. It's about being there in the capacity that you needed. And I know you came over and it's like, again, it's that intuitive thing, right? And you're trying to put on this face and it's like, okay, knock it off, right? Just dump it. You didn't come over here to put on a show. Dump it. And once you started just dumping and there was no judgment, you could just all of a sudden it's like these 1,000-ton weights just kind of lift and go away and you're like, oh wow, it's not so bad after all, right?
Yeah. Even in business, personal business, wherever you are, your own business, you need that kind of space.
Right.
And you need to be heard. You need to be, well, we're all looking to be heard and loved.
Right. Well, that's why you're here talking today, right? Is to be that expression of your voice.
Yes. And it's very important. And being in the hospital setting on a veterans campus, for 17, 18 months and only seeing him, nurses, doctors, and the people that are, at the Fisher House, that was all a blessing. Trust me. And the training that I got daily to take care of my husband. One thing I can say, when you do something consistently, really shows. I had to move everything that I knew before and be trainable, adaptable, and I had to be ready. And when I decided that's what I was going to do, no one was going to change my mind. Um, I didn't do this uh, to walk away from business and choose my family. It wasn't a it was a no-brainer to me. To me, it's a no-brainer. When your family needs you, you're there. I've always believed that. Um, it's how we adapt to it. Do we adapt to it in anger because now we're not doing our dream? I'm a girl with big dreams, very
Yeah,
big
and
dreams.
now these dreams are starting to come into reality. You
Yes,
mentioned a few
I even
things
got
here.
2 books out.
I know. You mentioned some things that are really critical here on surrendering to be
Yes,
teachable. And that is so critical no matter what it is that you're doing in life,
yes,
is to surrender to those things that, I know best. Do you? Right? And again, with the technologies and everything that are shifting, it's being teachable and also making a decision. You can make a choice, but sometimes choices, you still have a tendency, you can slide back into the old way. But when you've made a decision, it's
right.
a final, right?
Yes,
And again, that's part of knowing and getting to know the inner workings of who you are as a soul person, right? And so having that opportunity, it's critical, so thank you for sharing those steps, because it doesn't matter whether it's in business or in personal life, because again, we talked about how they're all one and the same anyways. How you do
yeah.
one thing is how you do everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know, going through the process with my husband and him being in the hospital like that, I'm up against um, a team of doctors. And I've got to be able to talk to all these doctors, 16 to 20 of them, because that's his team. He couldn't move from the neck down. They just don't let you take somebody home tomorrow that's in that situation. And I've got to say, the VA made a point to make sure that I had action plans. Not that they told me, I had to create them, because they would give me a question. Well, how would you get out of your house with him? How would you do this? Or, I'm glad I had that, because, and it's a little emotional, um, because I learned all that in business. It's
Right.
strategy, it's the plan. So I was able to stand there and go, well, let me think, you know, and I would just like brainstorm with them like a mastermind, but it was their mastermind. And I was just invited. They wanted to see if I was able and not only strong enough mentally, but physically.
Right.
My husband was almost 6 feet. I'm barely 5. So,
Yeah,
you
here's
know,
the big man, and that's dead weight, and
yeah,
again,
very,
yeah.
because he's not functioning. So I had to learn how to move him, how to, get him from one side to the other. So once I got out of my own way, so to speak, because, at first you think, oh, this isn't real. This ain't happening. This is a dream I'm going to wake up from. It's an ugly dream,
Right.
but I'm going to wake up and everything's going to be fine. I'm going to walk in. He's going to be standing and walking. Well, that didn't happen. He's going to be moving his arms. That didn't happen. So I start realizing I better figure this out. Of course, he did not expect me to. But once again, it was a decision and a choice of mine.
Right.
And I'm just saying, sometimes we just have to move and release it and say, I'm ready.
Right. And again,
Well,
that's part of that whole surrendering. And that really
surrender.
is that inner working and being able to understand how that connection happens in the growth.
Yes.
So, Miriam, we could talk on this subject for a
Oh,
really long time. And I want to thank you so much for being here, and it's such an honor to have you in my life. We've known each other for, oh my gosh, I don't know, 10 years now
well,
or so. A long time.
probably.
At least.
I've
At
lost
least.
count, but I've got to say, Beverly, you are my angel. You came to Colorado, and I know you travel all over the world. You're an amazing speaker, an amazing woman. And this month is International Women's Month.
Oh, yes, it
And
is.
you are a woman that will see somebody in need and be right there and help them. You've known my dreams for many years. We've chatted, we've networked together, we've done all kinds of things,
Right.
and you're going to make me cry. But one thing I can say, you were there for me, and I so appreciate it.
It was an honor to be able to be there. And it's interesting how spirit puts things together. Like you say, I travel all over. I had I had no idea that I would be here in Denver for this extended period of time, because usually every month or 2 months, 3 months, I'm moving, I'm somewhere else,
I
right?
remember.
And interesting enough, Denver's huge. It's huge. It takes at least an hour and a half to get from one end of town to the other. So it's massive. And here we are, 15 minutes apart from each other, which is really kind of ironic, and so pay attention of what gets put in your life, because there's a reason. And really learn and grow and be supportive of one another. And that's the key element here. But the first thing you need to do is support yourself.
Yeah.
Be open to it, surrender, and say, okay, what's my journey? Where do I go next? Right.
Right. And I'm still choked up. But I got to say, that is so true, Beverly, because you came in and you were that piece that I needed to grow and to heal at the same time of moving forward. Everything that you taught me, you helped me with, was a blessing right at that moment. And you've always had that that intuition for me to say, hey, I'm in town. What's going on? Something says I got to talk to you. And every single time you've done that, it's like a blessing for me. And I just am so blessed to have you. And thank you. I love you. You're my soul sister. And I know that you were meant to be in my life. And here we are.
Here we are. And
What are we
that's
going to do?
well,
What's
hey,
next?
stick around. She'll be back and we'll share where the next chapter goes. So for now, it's time to say what? Let's go out and be that best you that you can be, because Miriam and I, we are going to be the best we can be. And I want to thank you all for joining us on the show today. And we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye. What?